Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the Emil-1. Why? Simply because this tank received a huge nerf during the 7.5 update, and on this one I totally agree with Wargaming because this was the most performing tank in the 7.4 update and it was way too overpowered in its current state. So Wargaming tried to change one or two things about the tank, which in my opinion were the good changes for the tank to become, let's say, less overpowered, even if it's still strong in the 7.5 update. You're going to see in the replay after. So concerning the Emil-1, what did they change? They did not touch the armor, so don't worry, you can still brawl and get a lot of bounces from tier 8, tier 7 and tier 6 sometimes from failed platoon. You will not struggle bouncing. Maybe if you're facing tank destroyers that are using heat shells and therefore have more than 330 millimeters of penetration, yes, here you will have to back down. But if it's not the case and you're facing regular tier 8 heavies, no worries, they will not penetrate you, especially if you're angled. Now, Wargaming touched two things on the tank. The first one is on the gun, because they nerfed severely the accuracy that went from around 0.31 to 0.35. I think it's a good idea to nerf the accuracy, simply because I want to remind you, you have an auto-loader, which means that you need to make all of your shells count, because when you miss one, you actually have 20 seconds of reload after. So nerfing the accuracy will make you struggle a little bit more penetrating your shots, and therefore it gives an advantage toward your opponents, because if you miss one and after you have to reload, it's easier for them to take you down. And I think it was kind of a subtle change on the tank, but it really makes the difference in my opinion to balance it. And the second thing is the engine power, because that tank back in the days, it was like 1 week ago, but still talking like it was 2 years ago, the mobility of the tank got nerfed as well, because before, when you were using the improved engine booster consumable, with this tank, you could go around 40-45 kilometers per hour. The main problem of the Emil-1 is that it had everything: a huge gun, a great armor, but also a really good mobility. Now, they really nerfed that engine power the Emil-1 has, which makes it, let's say, less versatile on the battlefield. If you go on the wrong side of the map, you will not be able to come back to your team, and therefore you are going to get completely crushed. And I think that's a good idea that Wargaming had nerfing both of those abilities on the gun and on the engine. But don't worry, if you are using the improved engine booster, you will still have quite a lot of mobility. And I think it's really important for you to understand that this consumable on the Emil-1 is one of the greatest, and therefore the one you want to have on it. Now for the equipments, you could go for the refined gun if you want to get back the accuracy you had previously. And I think it's a good idea to go for the refined gun, simply because with this tank, now that you have that really bad accuracy, you are going to make every single shot count. You're going to wait immobile for your circle to aim at your opponents before shooting. And that's why on my compo on the tank, I changed for refined gun, and I think that's the best equipment out there. Now, let's not lose too much time and jump directly into the replay to see if those nerfs really impacted the playstyle of the tank. So, as you can see, we're on Mayan runes. On this map, most of the time, you want to go on the left side of the map, which is the medium side, but also the best side for you to be able to hull down. Because even if the playstyle the playstyle changed a little bit, you still have your main strength, which is those hull down position. I want to remind you that you have around 10, maybe 12 degrees of gun depression. I didn't check, but it's way enough for you to work on hilly terrains. And the more you angle your tank, the easier it becomes for your turret to bounce shots, thanks to your artificial armor being increased. But is there really a change on the playstyle of the Emil-1? I'm going to tell you, yes, there is one. Back in the days in the 7.4 update, when you played this tank, you could actually brawl in. You could play extremely aggressively with the rest of your team, and you didn't really have to play it like a support. Now, thanks to the mobility nerf, you're going to take longer to be on the battlefield. Thanks to your bad accuracy, you are going to struggle shooting your targets and therefore making every single shell count. And in this position, what you want to do with this one is playing in support. This tank went from the alpha tank at tier 8 to still an alpha tank, but an alpha only in support role. For example, here, I'm playing against the T-44. Luckily for me, this guy decided to push back, but if he tried to really circle me or something while I was reloading, as I'm alone, I would have lost I would have been able to kill him, but I would have lost at least half of my hit points, which is something you don't want to happen, especially in the first minute of the game. Now, as you can see, and you're gonna see through the whole replay, I'm not trying to brawl. I'm waiting for my opponents to expose themselves. I'm not trying to take advanced position, to bounce shells, etc., because my tank is a support right now. But I feel like it was a really good idea from Wargaming to do that, simply because if you take a look at the Emil 2 and the Kranwagen, those two tanks kind of a support role on the battlefield. Thanks to their really low DPM, it's impossible for you to play aggressively, because when you are reloading, you are extremely exposed to the others. And as everybody knows that the Kranwagen has a really bad DPM, when you shot your 3 shots, I can guarantee you that if you're alone on one side against 1 or 2 people, they will rush you and completely smoke you. And I feel like this nerf on the Emil 1 prepares you a little bit more to the Emil 2 and the Kranwagen, which both have this playstyle, rather than just giving you out a completely broken tier 8 tank that will be able to do literally everything on the battlefield. As you can see right now on the chat, I'm telling people, hey, don't push, wait for them. I am a support tank, and if we push, I will not be able to help you all. We need to stay on our position. We need to defend this position we are on, simply because from this position right there, I'm able to hold down. And when you hold down with the Emil 1, trust me, you are still a huge beast. So here we go, we sneak 2 shots on the Tiger 2, 1 on the Emil. Here, thanks to the refine gun, that really lowers your gun dispersion, and I want to insist on that. That's extremely important for you to play with refine gun on your Emil 1 now that the accuracy had been nerfed. You can see that if I was playing with the 7.4 update Emil 1, I would rush through. I don't give a shit. I would rush through the Tiger directly, the KV4, etc., and I will wait for my team to support me. Here, I'm playing it a little bit smartly. You gotta play it sneaky, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Instead of rushing through the Tiger, I'm trying to circle, killing the Tiger that is completely alone, and coming back to help the rest of my team. That's the kind of playstyle that changes with the Emil 1. Nowadays, let's say that this tank, I'm not going to say it's a tank that is made for pro players, because it's not the case. You can still do great with the Emil 1 as long as you're in hold down, but you just have to adapt a little bit your playstyle to your team. You can't brawl in anymore. And it works pretty effectively. As you can see here, I'm using the speed boost, and even when you use the speed boost, the engine booster, sorry, while trying to climb up a hill, it still feels less mobility than we had previously, but it's not a problem. Just look at how fast we could kill the KV4. I'm really glad they didn't touch the Entra-Clip reload, which is still 3 seconds, so you take 6 seconds in total to inflict 930 alpha damage. That's quite huge, and you can still do extremely good battles with it, and you can see it right there. I mean, I'm already at 5k damage. I have all my hit points. Maybe I was quite lucky that my team actually played correctly for me to be able to do a good game, but this tank is still great, and this tank is still worth getting, worth keeping in your garage, and I truly think that this tank is still going to be one of the most played tanks in ratings, because every single top player is playing that Emil 1 all day long for them to grind ratings. Why? Because that tank is literally awesome. We ended up the game with nearly 6k damage, an ace tanker, everything that is perfect. I enriched my tank, that's why I made that much money, by the way. If you have this kind of game but you did not enrich your tank, you will not do that much. But I still do not regret enriching it. Even if it got nerfed, it's still a great tank and definitely worth keeping in your garage. I hope that a review helped you guys. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Au revoir.